All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here today as people are filtering in from the waiting room. Thank you for joining us for a Shop Wyoming Town Hall Q&A session. We're focusing on branding your Shop Wyoming page, and we have our expert here, Melissa Forziat, to help us with branding and marketing our Shop Wyoming experiences. This is a Wyoming SBDC network program brought to you by the CARES Act Recovery Program. We're funded through the SBA and the Wyoming Business Council and the University of Wyoming. Our services are offered at complete no cost to you. And these opportunities are pretty spectacular, and they're helpful for recovering from COVID, but also just expanding your business. And we have advising opportunities through the CARES Act program, as well as our core staff at the SBDC. So we have Melissa Forziat here. She's a branding and marketing expert, event marketing expert. So I'm going to pass things over to her so she can get started with her presentation, and then we can get into the nitty-gritty questions about Shop Wyoming.
Thank you for that, Maureen. I'll just take a quick second here to put my screen up so everybody can see that. All right, hopefully that's happening now. So it's so great to be here, and thank you for having me, Maureen, and thank you to the Wyoming SBDC for working with me on this. This was a topic that we specifically wanted to bring to all of you today because brand identity can be such a challenging thing to think about, and you often have to make decisions early in your business that make you feel like you're really making some strong choices that are going to be anchored to moving forward. And I always think it's helpful to be thoughtful about the process of knowing what you're going to say and how you're going to talk to people. So today we'll talk about your brand identity as it relates to Shop Wyoming, but also as it stands on its own. I'm going to try to pack a lot of different ideas into just a little bit of time here to give you a number of different thoughts, and then we can follow up with your questions in the Q&A, depending on if what you wanted to look at was more of what your brand is or more of the Shop Wyoming piece and how it relates to that. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'll give you a quick background on who I am. So I started out in my career doing major international sport events, which means I worked Olympic Winter Games and Rugby World Cup. I worked with the US Olympic Committee. So I worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, and I learned a lot about how they do what they do and how they build their message and how they build who they are to the world around them. And then 8 years ago, I started my own business. So I'm a micro business owner, like many of you are. Melissa Forziat Events and Marketing. I do events and mostly marketing consulting for small businesses. And I had to figure out how to take all of those great principles of brand and marketing and messaging that I learned from working with Olympic Games, but make it work for businesses that look like mine and that look like yours. Businesses that are much smaller, that have far fewer resources, and still figuring out how to get it done, how to get your message across in a way that's really going to impact the audience, and also how to leverage all the partnerships and all the other businesses around you and the communities around you to get that message out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of that today, but that's where I come from. So here's what we'll talk about in this process of today's presentation. I'll cover very quickly building your brand with your target markets in mind. And then we're going to turn the attention back to Shop Wyoming. We'll look at reflecting your brand on Shop Wyoming and also leveraging Shop Wyoming in your own marketing. All right, so let's jump in here. Building your brand with your target markets in mind. Look, we could spend an entire presentation just talking about this for, an hour or two, or we could spend a lot longer than that talking about it in a one-on-one consultation. But I'm going to try to distill a few important points into this that'll relate to the Shop Wyoming piece. I think the main thing I want you to understand is the foundation of your marketing and the foundation of your brand is actually your target markets. A lot of us, I find a lot of business owners, a lot of micro business owners, especially when they're thinking about what their brand is, they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about, what do I like? What do I want to put out there? And the moment you start using the word I, it gets really tricky because your audience is only thinking about themselves and what resonates for them. So you ultimately will only cut through the noise that's in their lives by making a packaged message that feels perfectly relevant to them and like it was designed just for their eyes or ears. So that's our challenge as business owners. We're thinking from our own brains, but we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the audiences who are receiving the message to make sure that we're putting something in front of them that's going to cut through all the distractions, that's going to get into their brains, and ideally makes them want to stick around long enough where our brands can get into their like long-term memories instead of just the short-term memories. Now, one of the challenges with this is making sure we know who our target markets actually are. So I'm going to give you a quick definition on that. These are the people who would be most likely to be interested in your product, service, program, or idea. Whatever it is you're selling, these are the people who would be most likely to buy it. And something that I really want you to think about with this is that if I say, who's your target market, I'm looking for more than a 1 or 2 word answer, because the more you know about your target markets, the more likely you're messaging to them in a very specific way that will cut through the noise. So for all the people out there who answer everyone because they're afraid to commit to anybody, it's going to be really hard for you to get their attention because your message is going to come out so generically. Even if you get, for example, in my own business, if I said small business marketing, I help small businesses. There's a lot of different types of small businesses out there. And when I find when somebody's thinking about working with me, they'll say, yeah, but have you ever worked with lawyers? Have you ever worked with rap stars? Have you ever worked with jewelry makers? Have you, people always want to know if I've worked with a business like theirs. So I have to learn how to be really specific in how I talk to them, so that I cut through that question up front and they're listening to me straight away. It's probably the same thing in your business. People need to know that your business is for them, and it helps if you can be directed about that. The challenge that we often have is that most of our businesses are going to have more than one target market. And if you were sitting here thinking, but I think I have more than one, you are very much in the majority. Most of us are dealing with multiple populations that we can work with. So the challenge to us is not to get more generic in our messages. It's actually to get as specific as possible and put the specific message for each market in front of them when they need it. It feels like a lot of work to do, but the more you can do that, the more successful you're going to find that you are in generating good conversations and generating good sales pipeline, a healthy sales pipeline, and ultimately in generating the revenue that you need from that. So the question becomes, did you build your brand with your target markets in mind, or did you build your brand with you in mind? That's the first thing to consider here, because if you know the answer to that question, you know about how much work you need to be doing. If you built it with you in mind, this is a really good time to start looking at what you've got out there and making sure that it's speaking to the people that you're trying to reach. So when I say that, what does that actually mean? There are quite a lot of different elements of your brand, and your audience has to be the forefront of all of it. So I've put some examples here of words that are things that we can put out there for our brands. There may be more than what's on this list. I'm actually going to drop down 2 of them I want to highlight first. Tone and values, which are down a couple there. They are actually the foundation of the rest of the ones on this list, really. But also things like the colors we put out there, they say something. The images, what that speaks to the audience. Keywords that we use, symbols perhaps that we use, and it could be in your logo, or it could just be shapes that are used throughout any graphics that you put out there. Causes could be something that your audience needs to see that you resonate with because it's important to them. Pain points. A lot of times audiences are thinking about the pain points they're experiencing. And if you can hit them right in that spot, they'll understand that, oh, maybe this person has a solution. Also motivations. If for example, there may be many different companies that do the thing that you do, but maybe you do it in a way that hits at a certain level of motivation. Maybe you do it for a lower price, or maybe you do it with, boutique customized services. Maybe, there could be different angles of how you approach things. Maybe you're going to offer them prestige, or maybe you're going to help them reduce risk in their own lives. So there could be all these different angles that they're looking for as they look for a product or service like yours. And again, if you can think about stuff like this and think about it from the standpoint of the audience, you're far more likely to put a brand in front of them that's going to resonate. Now, I know I blasted through that, and I'm hoping that I'm just creating questions for you to ask as we move into the Q&A part. I want to take a moment to pivot and talk about Shop Wyoming, from a couple different angles. The first one that I want to look at here is how you reflect your brand on Shop Wyoming. This one might be the most obvious part. If you were setting up your profile, you kind of have to answer these questions, but I wanted to show you a few examples of what's available to you when you're creating your profile on the Shop Wyoming website. One side is the business profile. So I showed an example here of what the business profile looks like. I'll have this over 2 slides because I took screenshots and I tried not to make it too small. Here we've got Wandering Joy Photography. You're going to see some things that are available to you here. This is the top half of the business profile. Now, if you look on the left, that's the menu of the website. That's always going to be there. That's not something that you control. But if you look on the right side, what you're going to see is the business name. You've got Wandering Joy Photography. You've got this cover photo, which is all those flowers and that scenic backdrop. You'll see that Wandering Joy Photography made sure that their logo is also there. Then you'll see that little square inset, the Wandering Joy Photography profile picture. Again, that's another opportunity to think about what you're telling people, if that's your logo, if that's something else that connects back with the cover image. You have options there. You're also going to see on the right side of the image, there's a Facebook link at the bottom. There you can put whatever social media links that you have there, and those will appear and populate in that area. Now, to show you what the bottom part of this looks like, obviously, you're seeing some of the basics. You're seeing your website, your contact information, and then you get this chance. You see that this business, put a brief description of what it does. Again, this is a great place. All of this, everything that you've got here is real estate for you to put your brand at the center and to really figure out how to connect with an audience quickly. And I'm going to show you in a few slides, this description that was put here. I'm going to show you another place that's going to appear so that you can think about that as you're creating your own. At the bottom of this, you're also going to see that the products themselves are listed. These are just some of the things that are available. And I wanted to sort of walk through one example just to see what's there. But I also wanted to show you one that I thought was really impactful for me. This one's Fly Fish Wyoming. And I like a lot of what they did here. You're only working with so much real estate on a platform like this to really make your brand clear. And I feel like this particular brand did a lot to leverage everything that was available to them and really jump off the page. So Fly Fish Wyoming, you're going to see this cover image, just in case you didn't already read their name, they made it nice and big and branded. They really put a sense of place with this image. I feel like they really captured nature and a lot about what their brand probably is in the image that they chose. They've got their tagline here, Fish the Wild. They've got the graphic of the animal with over the actual animals that are in the picture. I think all of that really works together and gives me a sense of their brand. And then you're actually going to see their proper logo below that, Fly Fish Wyoming. So they pulled a lot of elements together to use as much as they could of what was available to them here. And then of course, you're going to see they've got Facebook and Instagram links there. I wanted to show an example that had more than one link. So you can see that if you've got more social media accounts, you can populate them all there. Now, the second part of this, you've got, they chose to go very, very simple with the description. And I think for a lot of your businesses, there's a chance to do more there. So really think about what you say there and how you want to hook people in. You're also going to notice at the top, no review yet. You can get people to leave reviews here. And how much is that going to improve the visibility of your profile and the site in general if there are more reviews here? So if people are making purchases, how much can you encourage them to do that? Again, at the bottom, you've got this product listing, and perhaps they had a larger suite of products and they've chosen only these ones to make it make sense within the context of their profile. Or maybe they've listed everything here. I think that's a decision that you can make based on what profile you're choosing to create. There's one other thing that I wanted to show you here, and that's the product listing side. Obviously, you could talk about your business, but you also have things that you're selling, and each of those things are going to get a profile page of their own. Now, something that I wanted to show you here, this is a particular product, the Smart Max product that they've got listed here, has its own description. It's loaded with keywords. And this is being sold by a company called Kid Curious, Toy Store and More. Something that I wanted you to notice is that the description that you put on your company page is pulled over into this section. I wanted you to notice that their call to action is going to be cut off here. So something that you might want to think about, it's not that you can't have a longer description, but I want you to think about what's going into this portion and if it fits and makes a complete story for your business. Even if you have more after that that's sitting on your company page, can you make sure that what's listed here feels like it's got, a complete piece of information and doesn't leave the audience hanging? You'll see at the end, this last sentence, call us or visit our website if you blah, blah, blah. Maybe that call to action would be a little more impactful if we saw the whole thing. So, even if they had another paragraph after that, it would feel complete if we finish off at that sentence. So those are just a few things to think about here when you think about your own product listing. Now, I know I'm blowing right through this because I want to just open up a lot of ideas for your questions. I wanted to make sure to also cover this angle because this may be one you haven't thought about. Yeah, you want Shop Wyoming to leverage you, but you can also leverage Shop Wyoming, and it's actually going to help you if everybody's doing that. If every business that's listed on Shop Wyoming is talking about Shop Wyoming in their marketing, it's going to make Shop Wyoming more visible and more discoverable for more people to find you and your products. So I want you to really think about that because it's sort of like help everybody help each other in this situation. And I wanted to provide a really quick graphic that's going to give you ideas of what that could look like. So in your affiliation with Shop Wyoming, you could include the logo on your website. You could feature Shop Wyoming in a newsletter that you're putting out there or in a blog that you write, any piece of featured content or video that you put out there. It could be that you feature Shop Wyoming on social media and any posts that you do. And that can come from a standpoint of announcing that you're there or, talking, whatever ways you feel like you can talk about that. I'm going to give you another option for that a little bit further below. You could do a contest related to Shop Wyoming. You could even do that in collaboration with other Wyoming businesses. You can add their logo to your business card or printed materials. With any of these things that I'm talking about logo use, I should say, you might want to just double check with Shop Wyoming that you're doing this, make sure they're comfortable with the use of it. But at the end of the day, it ultimately helps everybody if people are really reinforcing the value and the strength of this community. I've also run a scavenger hunt campaign. Sometimes you'll see something like this may feel a little more complicated, but it can be really interesting if you can get people hunting for things on the Shop Wyoming website, either for your business or for a bunch of businesses combined, because it gets more people to that site. And again, more people with the potential to discover your business. Now, for those of you who are wondering, how would I talk about being featured on Shop Wyoming? I wanted to let you know that there's a way that you can do that can feel comfortable, even if you don't want to toot your own horn. So what I wrote here was, humble posts. You're excited to be there. You're honored to be there. You thank your whole community for, helping you get there. You thank the state of Wyoming or Shop Wyoming for featuring you. You don't necessarily have to say it in a way that comes off as you're bragging. You can say it in a way that comes off as humble, but still get your message out there. One of the ones that I put here at the bottom is partner with Shop Wyoming businesses. Oh my goodness, if you can find ways to collaborate with the other businesses that are listed there, either by any of the means that I've listed already, or anything that you decide, you want to do with them separately, how much strength there is in numbers. If you can bring more people to this site, everybody gets more discovered. And it's a great place for you to shop for partner businesses. People that could be collaborators in marketing long after your relationship with Shop Wyoming has become fruitful. And if you can find those ways to shout them out, those relationships can extend for a very long time. So this may seem to you like I'm saying this because I'm trying to advocate for Shop Wyoming. I'm actually trying to advocate for you because, again, if you get more traffic to Shop Wyoming, because there's so many businesses there, you're there ready to be discovered. And, it's more likely that people are going to find you there than on your own website if more people are landing on the Shop Wyoming website. So with all of these different businesses, able to collaborate in that way, imagine how much more visibility your business could get. And at the end of the day, it's not like your business is only on Shop Wyoming. You are able to link to your website and to your social media profiles and get people to really explore you from that place. So I hope this is giving you some ideas of how to leverage the visibility for Shop Wyoming while Shop Wyoming does that for you as well. So I want to make sure that we have plenty of time for questions here. Here's what we talked about in case this helps jog any ideas of what you want to discuss, because I hit a few completely different angles, even in the short presentation that I've given. So building your brand with your target markets in mind, this one is a very broad understanding of what your brand actually is. Even without Shop Wyoming in consideration, what are you trying to say to people? And then when we look at Shop Wyoming, how do you reflect your brand there? And how do you leverage Shop Wyoming in your own marketing? So hopefully this prompts some ideas for your questions, and we'll start taking those. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder. You have an opportunity to work with me directly if you feel like the questions that we're answering here just aren't enough. You really need to dig in and work on this with a coach. There's an opportunity to work with me directly, but you have to go through your regional business advisor to make sure you get that set up. So if you have one that you're already talking to, that would be the person to connect with. And if you don't already have somebody you're talking to, this link that we have on the screen is how you would get connected to find your regional business advisor. But I will do my very best to answer questions as completely as I can in this Q&A part, just to see, how far we can get in that area as well. So I think I'll turn this back over to Maureen in case you want to say anything about that, and also so we can start capturing some questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, lots of good things to think about in this presentation for sure. Many big concepts, but they're great to think about. Yeah, if you want to meet with Melissa at any point for some one-on-one coaching or just ask a question one-on-one, you just need to reach out to your regional business advisor. You should be connected with them through your Shop Wyoming. So you've either gotten an email with their contact info, but if not, you can go to wyomingsbdc.org/contact. They're wonderful. They can hook you up with the right people and they can answer questions too. So lots of ways to get assistance. So let's start with some questions. What kinds of banner images should I go for to grab customer attention?
Good question. What kinds of banner images? Well, unfortunately, I'm probably going to give similar answers here in that it needs to connect back with what your brand actually is. And every person who listens in on this is going to have a different brand. So if your brand is really bubbly and fun and kids oriented, then it should probably be bright and colorful and look bubbly, and it should have a playful element to it. If you were a lawyer, I'd probably have a very different piece of advice for you of what should go out there. So I think a lot of what kinds of banner images you use comes back to what tone you're trying to set. When I had shown you that list of different things that can resonate for your audience, and I said tone and values are really important, that is really where it all comes from. If you decide that you want to set a playful tone or a serious tone or a factual tone or a witty, humorous tone, or there's so many different ways to speak to your audience. You could have an empathetic tone. You can be the neighbor next door who provides a listening ear. All of this gives you a sense of how everything needs to speak to your audience, and it may help you make a decision about what your banner image needs to be. So, for example, the reason why the Fly Fish Wyoming banner image resonated for me is that I assume what they're trying to get across is an outdoorsy, in nature feel for their brand. And it put me straight there. Their picture was in nature. Everything about it felt kind of rugged and it felt like I'm out there with you already. And if you like that, if you're somebody who's drawn to that, you're maybe more likely to be the right person for their business. So, you're trying to weed the people in who need to hear your message as much as possible. So what kinds of banner images, how much can you capture your tone and how much can you reiterate what your business is? The logo use, I think was a really smart thing to be able to add into that tagline use. Like that's your opportunity to be able to make it really clear in a glance what's going on for your business and who's right for you.
Perfect. That kind of segues into a few of our other questions. Um, can I ask my current customers if my messaging is connecting with them, and how would I go about doing that?
Good question. I love that question actually, because so when you're brand new in your business and you have no customers, it's a little tricky because you have to imagine what they're going to think, and then I probably have to get some sort of focus groups out there, and then you have to do research based on what you're seeing other businesses do in your marketplace just to see how you think it's landing. And until you start getting out there, it's so hard to know. When you already have a customer base, I think it does make a lot of sense to ask them what they think. I think the best way to do that is usually in some sort of a survey format to make it a little bit more consolidated and make it a little, instead of just giving everybody free form short answers and saying, what do you think my business is? Which actually could be a difficult thing for them to come up with the words. Maybe give them something that's a quick survey, maybe something that's multiple choice within other category. Or, if you can get a few questions out there, what are some of the words that you associate with me? And, make a list, and then give them a chance to write in something if they don't see what they need. Make it really easy for them not to have to do too much thinking and just to, hit you with their instinct. The other thing that can be really helpful is if you say, what did you like best about the product or service? Or what did you like best about the experience that you had with me? Because sometimes they'll give you information there that isn't what you would have asked, and it surprises you. And sometimes that'll actually hit upon an element of your brand or your customer service style that is the focus, the focal point of what you need to build your brand around. So I think, something like a survey can be really helpful. And we're not strangers to being asked to do surveys, but I think the advantage that we have as small business owners is that you can ask for that information with such a personal spin and such a level of gratitude that we often don't get from the big companies that survey us. So this is something that you can do, and it's a huge advantage to you if you can go out there and ask people for that information.
Perfect. Let's see. Do you have any tips for writing the description for my business that goes on Shop Wyoming? Is there any information that I should include or ignore?
Yeah, well, I think, with that platform, that's a good question. I think anytime we're in a writing exercise, it's like, it can be a breeding ground for writer's block, because it's like, I have an opportunity here, but what do I do with it? What do I say with it? And again, I think it comes back to which target markets are you actually trying to reach? Now, if you had, for example, a business with national reach, but you're only trying to reach, people who are in Wyoming with it, would that change how you talk to your market? If you have a hyper local company that usually only reaches a certain area, how would you talk to the state of Wyoming? How would you talk to a wider audience? So I think, first of all, look at the spread of your target markets and ask, how pinpointed do you need to be, and which specific target markets are you focusing in on when you write your description. You have to start there before you actually write the description. Then, come up with, okay, what is the tone I'm trying to set here? For those of you who really have no idea what that is, there's an exercise or two that I can support you with if you want to work with me. So tone and values, I think, are a couple things that are really handy for you to start establishing. And you can also do something like a brand statement exercise with me, where we can work through what your business is, who it serves and how it helps them. And those types of things can really be distilled into messaging like this. But yeah, if you're just sitting here trying to think, okay, I want to work on a description right now, what do I come up with? Start with what target markets you're reaching, what tone of voice you want to get across, what value system you want to get across, and then make sure that the description fits. That is the litmus test. If it can do all of those things, you're probably on the right track with your description. If you're writing something that doesn't seem to address those things, then it's probably time to start reworking it. But yeah, I think those are the few things that I would start with as a beginning point.
That's great advice. I find that writing for business is always hard, so it's good to have some starting points, and good to hear that you have exercises that y'all can meet with Melissa one-on-one to work through. So that's great. So I'm the only business in my community on Shop Wyoming. How can I connect with other businesses on Shop Wyoming to help promote?
Such a great question, and I'm so glad you asked that, because I'm a huge believer in partnering with other small businesses, because that's the kind of marketing that you can do for free. You spend your time to build a relationship, and then you can both leverage that relationship however you want to. You can shout each other out, you can support each other in the things that you're doing, and you can use Shop Wyoming as a platform to shop for those businesses. The great news for you is that all the businesses that are listed there, you can see their website and their contact information. So what I would do if you're thinking about connecting with businesses on Shop Wyoming, but you're the only business in your specific area, that doesn't necessarily mean there are no businesses to partner with. I think the question would become, are there any other businesses listed on Shop Wyoming that have a similar target market to what you have? Maybe even a compatible offering, but I don't want to limit you to that. If I make shoes and you make shoelaces, yeah, we can work together. But if I'm reaching mothers of 2-year-olds and you're reaching mothers of 2-year-olds, we can also work together. And that may open up the field of the businesses that you work with. So when you think about your products or services, who's out there looking for your products or services, and what else might they be looking for? If you go through every single business that's listed on Shop Wyoming with that in mind, you may start to come up with your own long or short list of the businesses out there that are reaching a similar audience and could have a compatibility for you in the messaging that you've got, even if they're not hyper local to you. Just the fact that they're exposing you to this common audience is great news for you. So if you do that search, and then honestly just start copying down email addresses and contact them, because all of the contact information is sitting right there for you to access. And I think the entry point for that conversation is really easy. I think it's, we're both listed on Shop Wyoming. My business does this and I reach this audience. I noticed that your business does this and I'm thinking maybe you reach that audience too. Do you want to support each other? And what that support looks like, you get to create the shape of that with them together. So whether that be featuring each other in social media or newsletters, or interviewing each other, or making verbal referrals for each other when you have the opportunity to do that, or physically supporting them at an event that they have, or whatever it is that you two have going on, you can create what that relationship is going to be. So I know I kind of gave you a tutorial on partnership marketing there, but what a great opportunity it is. And the stronger your relationships are among Shop Wyoming businesses, the stronger the whole platform is going to be.
Awesome. That's great advice. And I think that's all our questions at the moment. I'm going to just run through some other stuff while we wait for others. But we have some graphics available through the SBDC that we can send to you to help you promote your business and your Shop Wyoming presence on social media. So feel free to reach out to the program director for Shop Wyoming. Her email is audrey.jansen, and I'm going to put that in the chat, at uio.org. And we can send you any social media stuff that will help you get your presence out on your pages or platforms or newsletters, whatever fits you. And if you don't love the graphic we send you, just reach out. I'll make you a new one that fits your brand. We can work together and make sure that we're doing all we can to get the word out about your business, but also about your presence on Shop Wyoming. Again, if you guys want to meet with Melissa one-on-one, she is available for coaching meetings. Reach out to your regional business advisor. They are free through the SBDC. This is part of the CARES Act recovery program. So it's a great opportunity to get some good advice from a professional and get some stuff going for your business that wouldn't have happened otherwise because of this crazy, crazy year we've all had. So there are good things out there because of it, just like this. So that looks like all the questions we had, Melissa. I really appreciate this presentation, and we'll be in touch soon with more information. And thanks everyone for coming in today.
Hi, everyone.
Have a great day.